The film begins in the summer of 1999. Ivan Fyodorovich, a decorated World War II veteran, lives with his granddaughter, Katya Sergeyevna. In a nearby apartment, three young men, Vadim Pashutin, Boris Chukhanov, and Igor Zvorygin, spend their Wednesdays seeking pleasure by hiring a prostitute. On one particular Wednesday, they fail to find one and instead decide to lure a random woman. By chance, Katya, who attends the same school as Vadim, walks by. They invite her to their flat, claiming they're celebrating a birthday. She initially declines, saying her grandfather is waiting at home, but after some pressure, agrees to stay for 5 minutes. Upon entering, she notices several bottles of alcohol and begins to feel uncomfortable, but remains polite. The boys offer her champagne, which she refuses at first, saying she doesn't drink. However, they persist. While Vadim and Boris distract her, Igor spikes the drink. Katya eventually drinks it. As she tries to leave, she begins to feel unwell. The boys block her exit, force her onto the bed, and sexually assault her. Afterward, Vadim expresses concern that Katya lives nearby and might report them, but Boris dismisses his worries. Igor places money in Katya's bag and tells her to return the next day. Katya, visibly shaken and crying, leaves the apartment and throws the money away as the boys watch. That night, when Katya returns home, Ivan finds her crying and traumatized. Noticing blood on her leg, he realizes what happened and asks who did it. Upon learning it was the neighborhood boys, Ivan immediately sets out to confront them. On his way to confront the attackers, Ivan is stopped by a neighbor, Lyoska, who also happens to be a police officer. After hearing what happened, Lyoska urges Ivan to go back home and be with Katya, promising to alert his colleagues. A team of officers, led by Captain Koshayev, soon raids the boys' apartment and detains them. At first, the boys deny any wrongdoing. Koshayev separates them for questioning, and during the search, the police find a blood-stained sheet, clear evidence pointing to Katya's assault. Koshayev threatens them with the possibility of being placed in a prison with violent offenders who would treat them the same way they treated Katya. Terrified, the boys eventually confess. Just then, Colonel Nikolai Pashutin, a high-ranking officer and Vadim's father, arrives. He tries to use his influence to take control of the case, but Koshayev tells him that the confessions have already been recorded and that any attempt to take custody of the boys would require an official written order. Frustrated, Nikolai leaves. The next morning, Ivan wakes up in a panic when he can't find Katya. She calls to him from the bathroom, saying she can't bear to look at herself in the mirror. Ivan is heartbroken, but doesn't know how to help her. Hoping to get her some support, he calls a doctor who lives upstairs. After examining Katya, the doctor confirms that she is physically fine, but deeply traumatized. She recommends rest, good nutrition, and staying at home, assuring Ivan that Katya should begin to recover in a few days. Later that day, Ivan receives a phone call from his daughter, Katya's mother, informing him that she'll be arriving soon. Ivan then takes Katya to the police station to give her official statement, where they meet the investigator, who turns out to be corrupt and bribed by Nikolai. Instead of treating the case seriously, the investigator mocks Katya's account and accuses her of going to the boys' apartment willingly, implying she did so in hopes of starting a relationship with one of them. Deeply humiliated and heartbroken, Katya loses the will to seek justice and expresses a desire to forget the entire ordeal. But Ivan is not ready to let it go. Later, on his way back from the store, Ivan is stunned to see the boys have already been released. They're loitering outside the building, laughing as he walks by. Ivan warns them there will be consequences, then calmly walks away. The next day, wearing his old military uniform, Ivan visits an old friend who is now a judge, hoping for help. But the judge tells him the investigation is complete, no legal grounds remain, and the case has been closed. He patronizingly reminds Ivan that parents and grandparents need to be more vigilant with their children. Furious, Ivan snaps at him and storms out. On his way home, Ivan makes a decision. He stops by a bank and sells his childhood home for just $5,000. When he returns, Katya tells Ivan that Nikolai left an envelope full of money outside their door. Enraged, Ivan storms over to Nikolai's home, throws the money in his face. While having a meal with Katya, she tells Ivan that Aunt Maria left them the keys to her apartment so he can look after her birds. Something clicks in Ivan's mind, and he quickly heads to the flat. Once inside, he looks around and realizes that the apartment is directly across from the boys' place, offering a perfect view of their windows. Later, Ivan goes to the market in search of a weapon. Initially, he's shown only an airgun. When he asks for a real firearm, the vendor becomes uneasy and insists he doesn't have one. Just as Ivan is about to leave, another vendor approaches, claiming he overheard their conversation and can provide what Ivan is looking for the right price. He leads Ivan to a hidden location where several firearms are laid out. Ivan selects an SVD sniper rifle, fitted with a silencer. During a test session, he demonstrates remarkable accuracy, hitting every target with precision. Impressed, the seller admiringly refers to him as a true Voroshilov sharpshooter. That evening, Ivan returns home to find Olga, Katya's mother, has arrived from Turkey with a new boyfriend. Despite being absent for most of Katya's life, Olga now tells her daughter to move on and be happy. Later, she privately asks Ivan for money, revealing that her visit is motivated more by financial need than concern for her daughter. When she brings up the money Ivan returned to the colonel, he loses his temper. Furious, Ivan throws her out of the house and tells her never to come back. At dawn, Ivan brings a sniper rifle to Maria's apartment. Later, at the park, he quietly watches a group of local men playing chess while keeping an eye on the offender's flat. Once he sees the boys return home, he slips back into Maria's apartment and sets his plan for justice in motion. Intentionally avoiding fatal shots, he aims to cripple rather than kill. He fires a round through a bottle of sparkling wine, striking Igor in the groin. The boys mistake the incident for a freak explosion. After carefully stashing the rifle, Ivan calmly returns to the park and blends back in with the others as if nothing happened. An ambulance soon arrives for Igor, drawing a crowd of curious onlookers. Later, Nikolai questions Vadim and Boris about the incident. He suspects they were recklessly handling a firearm and accidentally shot Igor, but both deny it, insisting they were just drinking and hanging out. Noticing a hole in the couch and checking the window, Nikolai starts to believe they were deliberately targeted. He warns them that someone may be seeking revenge and won't stop until all three are punished. Meanwhile, Loska begins to suspect Ivan might be behind the attacks, knowing he has the motive. He tries to talk to Ivan, but Ivan firmly denies any involvement. A few days later, Ivan returns to Maria's apartment, waiting patiently for the right moment. When Boris steps out and gets into his car, Ivan takes aim and shoots the gas tank, triggering an explosion. As bystanders rush to extinguish the flames, Boris manages to crawl out, his lower body engulfed in fire. Although people pull him to safety, the severe burns leave him permanently crippled. Firefighters and police arrive on the scene, drawing a large crowd. Loska spots Ivan among the onlookers and grows even more suspicious. Nikolai, now convinced his son is the next target, warns Vadim to stay indoors and be extremely cautious. He notes that the attacker is staging each incident to look like an accident. The warning terrifies Vadim, who grows increasingly paranoid and fearful for his life. Loska visits Ivan's apartment, but Ivan isn't home. He's greeted by Katya, who casually mentions that Ivan often visits Aunt Maria's place to take care of the birds. This sparks Loska's interest, especially when he realizes that Maria's apartment is directly across from the boys' flat, where the accidents happened. Acting on his suspicion, Loska quietly takes Maria's keys to investigate further. Later, Nikolai and his men arrive at Ivan's apartment with a search warrant. They're convinced Ivan is behind the shootings and comb through the place looking for evidence, but find nothing. Just as they're about to leave, Maria shows up asking for her keys. Upon learning that her apartment is located directly opposite the victim's flat, the officers decide to search her place as well, bringing Ivan and Maria along. Again, they come empty-handed. Still, Nikolai threatens Ivan, warning him that if anything happens to his son, there will be consequences. Ivan calmly responds that something already has happened, referring to the fact that Vadim has become a rapist. But Nikolai misunderstands, thinking Ivan is implying something immediately has occurred. Panicking, he rushes home and blasts open his house door with a gun. Startled and mentally unwell after days of fear, Vadim fires back through the door with a shotgun, accidentally injuring his own father. In the epilogue, Loska visits Ivan and quietly tells him he has found and unofficially confiscated the hidden sniper rifle. At home, Katya begins singing again, a sign of emotional healing and the restoration of peace. Ivan, deeply moved by her recovery, is brought to tears. If you enjoyed this video, don't be shy to hit the like button, and if you disliked it, hit the dislike button twice, just to be sure. It would be best if you watched the whole movie. Thank you very much for watching. Please subscribe for more videos like this.